Investigators believe last month's STEM school shooting was done on a whim to get revenge over a rumor. They outlined that in court records released within the last hour. Documents that also say that one of the injured students was accidentally shot by the school's private security guard. Investigators say the shooters were doing cocaine when they were breaking into a gun safe owned by the older suspect's parents. They then went to that school in Highlands Ranch and entered through a door where they knew their bags would not be checked. Investigators say the younger shooter was suicidal and was looking for revenge against another student over a rumor. That is why they targeted Classroom 107. Our 9 Wants to Know team previously told you what the affidavit outlined today, that the school's private security guard mistakenly fired at a responding sheriff's deputy and in the process hit a student in a classroom. The city of Denver has 2 employees on leave because they might have been involved in that youth baseball brawl that's now become national news. The video's pretty embarrassing. Adults fighting, interrupting a baseball game between 7-year-olds. Video's proof that not all adults are grown-ups. Learn a lot from the 13-year-old umpire who tried to keep the peace. Josh Cordova says his love of baseball started when he was 5. His parents would let him umpire the Little League games because they figured there's no real risk in that. Josh says it wasn't a game call that everybody was mad about. It was a warning for the coaches, fans, and parents to stop yelling at each other. Then somebody dropped the F-bomb. His father's last thought is that he would ever be talking to us about this.
What would I say to the adults? I would just remind them that this is a game, that nobody is going pro next year. I mean, because the hardest part for me is that where the guy was touching my kid. So, you know, for me, it's like as a dad, my dad instinct kicks in. And, you know, for me to say what I would really want to say, it would not be appropriate.
There have been 5 people cited for this. Lakewood police expect more citations. And the league ended the season for those 2 teams full of 7-year-olds now paying for the behavior of their parents. Building affordable housing is not necessarily an affordable exercise in Denver, between the cost of the land, construction, permits, but have faith. Low-income families have a new place to turn, a higher power. Marshall Zellinger explains.
It may seem a little odd that apartment construction is happening right behind this Aurora church, but this 50-unit project behind Elevation Christian Church is intentional.
It takes a lot of work to figure out, well, how do we do this land deal in a way that we ensure this doesn't just turn into luxury housing 10 years from now?
Nathan Davis Hunt is the Director of Economic Justice for the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado, which is part of a group that just received a $419,000 grant to help do the behind-the-scenes work to get more projects like this ready to build on other church properties.
It just so happens that congregations own land, which is one of the big bottlenecks, both in cost and just the scarcity of land, actually creating more affordable housing.
Affordable housing on church property is not new. Ever wonder why there's an apartment complex in the Argonaut Liquor parking lot in Denver? Well, the St. Francis apartments were built on land owned by St. John's Cathedral just behind it. What did the church get out of it? $1 a year lease.
A lot of these congregations have been mowing it for 50 years. Maybe they play soccer on it every now and then. Maybe they thought they were going to be a mega church someday. That's not happened, and they're stepping back and thinking, how do we better steward our resources?
In Longmont, 6 homes are being built next to the United Church of Christ. Today's grant money won't pay to build these projects. The money goes to help with research, planning, and doing all the busy work that has to happen to get the land shovel-ready. So how does a developer benefit? I'm told they don't get any of that grant money, that $419,000. They actually get paid back through tax credits that get sold to investors. Those investors, Kyle, also benefit, and I'm not a tax expert, so I won't get into how they benefit. Ultimately, low-income families should benefit if there is yet another resource besides the city of Denver, Lakewood talking about it. Anything could help.
They'll take help wherever they can get it. All right, thank you, Marshall. Funeral services for the trooper killed on this stretch of I-70 near Deer Trail are going to happen tomorrow in Inglewood. Trooper William Modane was struck and killed last week, Friday, while he was investigating another crash. That funeral is open to the public at Denver First Church in Cherry Hills Village. Begins at 11 in the morning. Before the ceremony, a procession led by Trooper Modane's patrol car will escort his body and his family to the church. The procession starts at 9 a.m. at 9400 East Hampden. We've been talking about Colorado's move-over law again this week following that trooper's death. CSP tells us they've written 582 tickets since the beginning of 2017. Now, that does not include drivers who just got warnings for not moving over to give room to law enforcement working along the side of the road. The law says every driver must move over if they can, and slow down if they can't. The most Colorado thing we've seen today is snow in our forecast in June.
It's wild, right? Yeah, we're going to be tracking that storm system that's sitting out around the northwest. Mountain snow moving into Montana, Idaho, and it should be in our backyard by late tomorrow night into Saturday morning. This afternoon into this evening, it's all about the severe storms that are cruising across the northeastern plains. One severe cell still going in parts of Weld County till about 6:15. This one in Washington County, a lot of lightning as well as hail. So we'll keep a close eye on that for the next couple of hours. But by about 10, 11 o'clock, everything moves out. We'll be left with partly cloudy skies and temperatures down to the lower 50s. Should be a mild night here in eastern Colorado with a few clouds out there, maybe even a bit of patchy fog going for the eastern plains. Storms late tonight, still going strong up in the mountains. Might find a little snow, but that next push really will arrive tomorrow evening. This takes us to about 1, 2 o'clock tomorrow. Scattered rain showers, another round of thunderstorms moving through. And tomorrow we will be looking at a better chance here in the Denver area for seeing a bit of severe weather. In fact, the bullseye, everywhere you see in yellow, Denver, I-76, I-70 included in that one for us. So we have one front coming in late tonight. That's going to knock daytime highs down just a bit tomorrow. And then our secondary front that rolls in Friday, that one gives us snow up in the mountains and a few more storms here in the metro area. How much snow will we see this weekend? Well, a couple of inches possible, but about 10,000 feet easily going, especially in northern Colorado. So if you have camping plans, you might want to think twice about that. 70 degrees right on the nose in Denver tomorrow, 40s, 50s in the mountains, and then 90s in southeastern Colorado. A cool, stormy weekend with highs only in the 60s, our first weekend of summer. But then look at next week, Kyle. Summer will make a little return, but we just have to wait till next week.
All right. Thank you, Danielle. Another post office in Colorado is about to be formally named after a fallen defender of our community. It'll be the second dedication this week. 2 dedication ceremonies in 1 week is not typical for the U.S. Postal Service. Renaming a federal building takes unanimous approval from Congress and the president's sign-off.
I've been in the Postal Service for a little more than 20 years, and my career has all been in Colorado. These are the first renaming ceremonies that I'd ever heard of. I like what our congressional leaders are. They tend to be leaning towards the sacrifice of soldiers, pilots, law enforcement officers, and the like.
The post office in Brighton is holding a ceremony tomorrow, renaming it the Detective Heath McDonald Gum Post Office Building. Detective Gum from Adams County was killed in January of last year, responding to a disturbance call in Thornton. On Monday, the post office in Highlands Ranch was dedicated to Douglas County Deputy Zach Parrish. He was attacked while responding to a call on New Year's Eve, a few weeks before Detective Gum was killed. A few Next viewers have asked whether Deputy Parrish is related to Douglas County Sheriff Tony Spurlock, his boss. They saw the plaque, which has Deputy Parrish's middle name, Spurlock. Just a coincidence, no relation. Colorado senators split today as the Senate voted to block the Trump administration from selling billions of dollars in weapons to Saudi Arabia. Democratic Senator Michael Bennet opposed the weapons deal. Republican Senator Cory Gardner sided with President Trump, who has promised to veto the Senate's move. Saudi Arabia is represented in Washington by lobbyists from the Denver-based law firm Brownstein Hyatt. Politicians will probably benefit from paying attention to the growing discontent over health care these days. Today, a study came out saying more than half of Americans are very worried or somewhat worried about unexpected medical bills. We've got a guy for that. It's Chris Vanderveen.
Only in healthcare can you go to a hospital your insurance wants you to go to and still get stuck with a 4-figure bill from someone out of network with your insurance. It happens a lot more than you might like. We did story
removed my appendix
after story
and unknowingly
after story on patients caught up in this surprise billing madness, and now we're getting a better idea just how common it really is. This study out today suggests as many as 18% of all ER visits result in an unexpected charge. That's 1 out of every 5.5 visits. In Colorado, the Kaiser Family Foundation found 15% of ER visits result in an out-of-network charge. In a state that sees more than 1.8 million ER visits a year, that's potentially a lot of unexpected bills. Keep in mind, last month the governor signed legislation that will protect many of us from this nonsense starting in January. Congress is also contemplating a federal fix. In the meantime, don't hesitate to ask questions the next time you or a loved one visits a hospital. You have a right to know more than they're telling you. And remember, when all else fails, Show Us Your Bills at 9news.com is still taking submissions. To date, you've sent more than 1,600 tips. This is Chris Vanderveen.
You cannot imagine that anybody would be opposed to naming a highway for a teacher who gave his life for his students. But then there's the issue of how to pay for it. That's next. 50 years ago this week, Wheat Ridge became a thing, as in its own city. So let's look back to 1969 on this Throwback Thursday. The headline in the Jefferson Sentinel read, "Surprise!" It's the city of Wheat Ridge now. More than 3,000 people voted for incorporation, more than 2,000 against. Jefferson County says the Wheat Ridge Fire Department was the impetus behind incorporation. That department is now West Metro. All right, good news, taxpayers. The redo on Colorado's Capitol Gold Dome, it came with a warranty, and that's why there were people back up on the dome today, spiffing up the gold leaf. And because it's under warranty, don't have to pay any extra. The legislature has already decided to rename part of C-470 in honor of the teacher credited with saving lives at Columbine High School in 1999. But before the signs can go up remembering Dave Sanders, private donations must be raised to pay for them. Ari Nelson Garcia met up with the artist taking up the cause.
On the side of this road is a man, a Columbine graduate named Jared Gates.
I want to fund the rest of it.
He wants to help turn this 7-mile stretch of C-470 from Bowles to Platte Canyon, southwest of Denver, into the Dave Sanders Memorial Highway.
One of his daughters said it's kind of like it's going to give a big hug around the community from Dave Sanders, and that really touched me. I think that's a great way to put it. And having the highway renamed is kind of a symbol of hope and strength of the community.
Sanders is the coach and teacher from Columbine, credited with saving countless lives. Jared was a junior, and that day he was serving a suspension at home for being late to class.
It makes me appreciate life. Every moment of life is precious.
A GoFundMe page was already started to raise $5,000 to build signs for the Sanders Highway.
And it stagnated after a couple weeks at 2,500, and it's still there. So it hasn't really gotten any traction after the initial announcement.
For traction,
these are the Columbine Rebel Roses.
Jared created steel sculptured flowers. He is a professional artist selling roses and columbines to raise money for the highway.
I've already gotten a couple $100 to go towards it, and even if that's the only thing that I get, my hope is that I'll inspire somebody else.
Raising money to make a permanent change to the side of the road.
He gave his life protecting kids, and I think that's the ultimate sacrifice. And the least we could do is rename the highway.
For Next, I'm Nelson Garcia.
Gates says when the highway project is fully funded, he's going to sell even more flowers to support the maintenance of the Columbine Memorial. A unique story shared by a unique couple who went to the Western Slope to find adventure and acceptance. That's next. We have never been closer to RTD's promised train to Longmont. Yesterday, we told you RTD was pushing back the timeline to 2050 unless they get a new source of funding. And again, you have to forgive me because our graphics guy, Jeff, is on vacation this week, so I had to whip this up myself. So like I said, we have never been closer to the RTD train to Longmont. Yesterday, we told you we were 11,154 days away, and I promised to update you. So we are now 11,153 days away. Feel the excitement. Also, we're going to need 11,000 Post-it notes over the next 31 years. People move to Colorado for all sorts of reasons. Adventure, love, good pizza. Story of a couple in Fruita who found all those things has been turned into a film that is screening in Denver tonight. It's called Life of Pi.
I'd like to clarify they're not wedding dresses. They're active wear. We moved to Fruita in 2002. It's a farming and ranching community that's just recently discovered recreation tourism. Well, 2016 happened and we woke up one day and we were like, this is a luxury right now and we're not taking advantage of this, and we might wake up and not be able to get married, and so we probably should.
Patagonia asked us to make a mountain bike film for them, and we said we have one idea, and it's friends of ours that own a pizzeria in Fruita.
The Life of Pi is about pizza, bikes, and building community in Fruita, Colorado. It's about our pizzeria called the Hot Tomato.
This guy's majestic.
Yeah, he's like this all the time. Ann and I always joked around that, well, we'd love for them to make a movie about us. And then last year they called us up and they're like, hey, we want to make a movie about you guys. What do you think? And that's kind of how it went. And it's been a really, really cool thing.
It was a lot of like, hey, can you guys ride this again? Like, can you ride this again? One more time.
That doesn't suck.
No, not at all.
No, it didn't
Yeah,
suck at all. It was really fun.
I think it just has this incredible resonance with people because it's about creating community with like disparate groups of people, which I think is really important right now.
To have so many people appreciate what we're doing, and I think it's been really inspiring for us to see us inspiring other people to do something that they're passionate about.
Life of Pi is showing at Five Points Film Festival's Night of Stoke tonight at 7 o'clock at the Paramount in Denver. If you're not about to scramble down there on short notice, it's also going to be up on Vimeo this weekend. Thank you to everyone who's been on the lookout for the fugitive peahen up in Longmont. Somebody told us the peahen was spotted near Longmont United Hospital, same area where the bird was first spotted on Tuesday. Police are thinking they're not going to be able to catch the peahen, so they're trying to find the owner. Again, it's a peahen like this one. It's a stock photo. That's not a really picturesque photo of the actual peahen. Not sure if they're going to find this owner, though, because somebody would have to come forward and acknowledge that they were harboring an illegal animal. It is against the law to have a peahen as a pet in Longmont. The signs say pro-parking. The results say otherwise. And some critical but fair feedback. Next. Tough thing about parking is that it involves reading signs. Otherwise, you could find that you've crossed a line, and it would appear that some folks are not great at either. Our viewer Tammy saw this situation inside a parking garage. She enjoyed it because, well, there's the parking job, and then there's the sign that says pro-customer parking. A person may be a pro-customer, but they are certainly not a pro at that whole parking thing. A number of you wrote in tonight curious about the gentleman who is selling the flowers to pay for the Dave Sanders Memorial signs along 470. Debbie and Audrey and Larry and Kathleen all asked in writing, trying to find out where they could buy those flowers. His website is wildsteelrose.com, wildsteelrose.com. We'll also put that on the next Facebook page, and it'll be linked in this article on 9news.com. Misty thought we could have done a better job with the story selection tonight. She writes, same stories over and over. How about something new? We always aim to bring you something new, Misty. Some nights we succeed more than others. We do appreciate your feedback. See you next time.